Why, hello, and welcome to part 3 of Coming Out Muslim. This was the scary one. It happened a couple days ago. So I was over at my parents who are planning to move. In fact, I just got a phone call about an hour ago from my mom saying that they officially bought a house today. So they're moving pretty soon. Anyway, they've been fixing up the house, and I came over to drop off some recycling, go through some boxes with them of old notes from 8th grade and high school. Fantastic. Really weird to look at. And the entire time I was there, I was by my stepdad and my mom, and we're all working in the basement together. And I kept wanting to tell my mother what was going on, and I couldn't think of a way to bring it up. Like, what do you do? Just be like, hey, Mom, so I'm gonna be Muslim. Yeah, because that would totally be cool. Whatever. So, I'm doing this thing again, where I just keep, resting my forehead on my hand, like I don't have the strength to hold myself up. I do. I have the strength, kinda. So anyway, I eventually, too, during the cleaning, I just sat down and just huff. And it looked like I was really angry, which I guess I was, because I was angry at myself for not having the courage to tell my mother what was going on. Or finding, a good segue, because we'd been talking about coming out, and it just turned into a giant conversation of, well, I don't see why the family needs to know about your sexuality. And be like, well, the family is eventually going to question why I'm not married nor have a boyfriend or anybody. So, we could let them just gossip amongst themselves like they do about several other members of the family who are not married, or we could just tell them what I am, and then they won't question it anymore, or talk at family reunions that I'm a lesbian. I'm not, but you know what? Maybe if we told them what the truth was, they wouldn't have to talk behind my back. Anyway, so it was finally, I'd been there for 2 hours, and I was gonna head back home, and my mother mentioned something about a wine bottle lights, which are basically a wine bottle is filled up with Christmas lights, and it's pretty. She has one, and I go, well, I've just had this bottle of wine in my fridge for 2 months, and I'm not drinking it and stuff. And she's like, well, why? And I go, well, I don't drink anymore. And she seemed kind of surprised, and she's like, why, for health? Because I'm a vegetarian and did it for health. So that was her logical guess. And I go, no, it's actually for religious reasons. And she actually goes, you're not Southern Baptist now, are you? There's this fear. And it was really weird because that's what we grew up as. And I guess it was kind of like a proof that my mother no longer identifies with being Southern Baptist, the really strict side of our family, and is now a little bit more lenient, which probably helps that she hasn't gone to church in 10 years. Alhamdulillah. Which sounds really bad, but that church was just an awful place, let me tell you. Not in this video, though. But anyway, and I go, no, God, no. I could never be Southern Baptist. It's an awful thing. And she goes, well, then what are you? Okay, Allie. Okay, she's snoring. She's sleeping. It's my roommate's dog. So my mother, she starts trying to guess through religions that don't allow drinking. And my mother knows absolutely nothing about any other religion aside from her own. So that was kind of humorous. She's like, are you Buddhist? I'm like, no, Mother. She goes, what other religions don't drink? And I just I start getting really nervous, and I go, you're not going to like it. And I look at her, I'm like, you're not going to like it. And she looks at me, she goes, are you going to be Islam? Or are you going to be Muslim? And I just kind of shake my head. I'm like, yeah. And, I'm just so nervous. I feel my cheeks getting red. And I don't remember exactly what my mother said next. But, I told her, I go, I've known for years that I want to be Muslim. And she just looks at me and she goes, is Islam and Muslim the same thing? I'm like, Mother, Islam is the religion and Muslim is a person who practices it. And she goes, okay, are you going to wear a burqa? I go, no, God, no. And I go, and she motions like, hijab. And I'm like, Mom, burqa is the thing where it even covers your eyes. And I go, and niqab is where, there's just a slit for your eyes. I go, hijab is where you just have something over your head. And she goes, oh, you aren't going to get extreme, are you? I'm like, no, Mom. And she looks at me, she goes, okay, do you still believe in God? I'm like, yes, I do. She goes, which God? I go, it's the same God as in Christianity and Judaism. I go, they all worship the same God. She goes, okay. And I look at her and I say, Islam still believes in Moses and Abraham and Jesus. I'm like, but, it doesn't have the concept of the Trinity, which I've never liked anyway. And she's like, yeah, that's always kind of confused me with like Holy Ghost, but God was in Jesus, but then where was God in heaven? And she's going on. And I'm like, well, Islam makes more sense to me because it doesn't have that concept of the Trinity, which is kind of a polytheistic idea. And I kind of just very briefly explained a little bit of the belief system. And she's like, yeah, that makes sense. And then she goes, let me show you the new hat I got. And then the conversation was done. So I followed her. I'm like, is she just trying to like distract me for a minute? Is she going to ask me more questions later? No, she didn't bring it up the rest of the night. The only other thing she said is, well, you have always liked head coverings. Which was kind of like the way that my family is like, well, Missi is really weird. And it just seemed like she kind of immediately accepted, all right, well, my daughter's doing whatever. She does her. Which I do. And I just kind of like got in my car later and was just like screaming to myself in the car like, oh my God, I told my mother, like yelling and stuff. Because I couldn't believe that I told her and we didn't fight or anything because my mother and I don't get along very well at all. And I wrote in my diary, I was like, alhamdulillah, this is all working out, inshallah. People are accepting this, and I haven't faced any negativity, and I'm just, very, very thankful, and it's been so stressful. But I'm like, at least I told my mother, because that was the one that I was really very, very nervous about. And I'm like, if I can tell my mother, then I think I can tell just about anyone, except for half of the family and some of the family friends. Whom some of those family friends are coming in town for Thanksgiving, and I'm purposely not going to see them because last time they were here, they made me cry. They made a grown-ass woman shed tears. I like broke down and cried and sobbed because they were so mean to me about Islam. And now if they know that I'm Muslim, they're going to be like, well, she was just defending that religion because it's what she follows. I say that as though that's their accent. It's not. They have a very posh British accent. But so this has been part 3 of Coming Out Muslim. That's all the parts I have for now. Possibly I'll have part 4 later. Maybe once I tell more of my close friends. Who knows? This is what's going on. Bye!